This is the story about a bus driver who would never open the door of the bus for people who were late. Not for anyone. And it wasn't because he was mean. It was a matter of ideology. The driver's ideology said that if, say, the delay that was caused by opening the door for someone who came late was just under 30 seconds, and if not opening the door meant that this person would wind up losing 15 minutes of his life, it would still be more fair to society to not open the door, because the 30 seconds would be lost by every single passenger on the bus. The person who should have suffered the most from the driver's ideology was named Eddie, but unlike the other people in this story, he wouldn't even try to run for the bus. That's how lazy and wasted he was. Now, Eddie was assistant cook at a restaurant called The Steakaway, and he was a really nice guy. So nice that sometimes when something he made didn't come out too great, he'd serve it to the table himself and apologize. It was during one of these apologies that he met happiness, or at least a shot at happiness, in the form of a girl who was so sweet that she tried to finish the entire portion of roast beef that he brought her, just so he wouldn't feel bad. And this girl didn't want to tell him her name or give him her phone number, but she was sweet enough to agree to meet him the next day at 5 at the Dolphinarium. Now, Eddie had this condition, one that had already caused him to miss out on all sorts of things in life. This sickness always made him oversleep by 10 minutes, and no alarm clock did any good. But this time, since happiness was at stake, Eddie decided to beat his condition, and instead of taking an afternoon nap, he stayed awake and watched television. He even lined up 3 alarm clocks, but this sickness was incurable, and Eddie fell asleep like a baby watching the Kiddie Channel. He woke up in a sweat to the screeching of 1,000,000,000,000 alarm clocks, 10 minutes too late, rushed out of the house and ran towards the bus stop. The last time he ran this much was before he discovered that he could cut gym class, which was about in the 6th grade, except that unlike in those gym classes, this time he ran like crazy, because now he had something to lose, and all the pains in his chest weren't going to get in the way of his pursuit of happiness. Nothing was going to get in the way, except our bus driver, who had just closed the door and was beginning to pull away. The driver had an ideology, and things weren't looking good for Eddie. But suddenly, Eddie's luck turned. Eddie's moist eyes reminded the driver of something from a time even before he wanted to become a bus driver, when he still wanted to become God. And suddenly the driver remembered how he'd once promised himself that if he became God in the end, he'd be merciful and kind and would listen to all his creatures. So in spite of all his ideology, he opened the door, and Eddie got on, and didn't even say thank you because he was so out of breath. The best thing would be to stop watching here, because even though Eddie did get to the Dolphinarium on time, happiness couldn't come, because happiness already had a boyfriend. It's just that she was so sweet that she couldn't bring herself to tell Eddie, so she preferred to stand him up. At the end, even though the passengers were shouting and grumbling to get a move on, the driver waited for Eddie, and he didn't touch the accelerator till Eddie was seated. And when they started moving, he looked in the rearview mirror and gave Eddie a sad wink, which somehow made the whole thing almost bearable.